You should become a beast, a real pioneer. But everybody says you should be harmless. You shouldn't be so aggressive. Don't be too assertive. Take a back seat. No. Not at all. You should be a beast. A real pioneer. Learning how to control their inner beast. The definition of being aggressive is forceful, yet sometimes overly assertive in pursuit of one's goals. Can I get a hello? In combat, war, life, almost nothing will happen the way you want it to. The enemy, nature, time, all kinds of things going against us. A losing battle, some say. But if you don't use your force of will, because where there's will, there's a way, then you're not going to get through the obstacles, the trials and tribulations. And what that means is you got to make things happen right now, today. And that's the good thing about being aggressive. Sure, there are certain parts of our nature that are aggressive, but it can also be trained to be beneficial. We can start to think with an aggressive mindset. I'm going to take action. I'm going to overcome the obstacles that I lay. I'm going to reach my outcome. I'm not going to take no for an answer. See, that's the aggressive mindset. Those are things you can train. There are so many times where people are told no and they lay down. It's game over. They're just done. That ain't a real pioneer. See, your attitude has to catch up with your mindset, with your goals, your outcomes. So no matter what obstacle or trial and tribulation you reach, you know you're going to get around that. You're going to hurdle that. Because you got to evaluate yourself each and every day. Seeing who you are during this race of life. While many people that you're running by don't even realize who they are. See, they don't even realize you're racing towards the finish line and they're walking the opposite direction. See, life is a race. So many people need to be pushed to start running because they've been walking. Most people don't even know they're in this race that all of us are competing against each other for. Not to be number one, but to reach our goals and dreams, to find our higher purpose, our higher self. See, the way to live is to run after your dreams and your goals, to run towards the finish line, not in the opposite way. There may be things in your life right now that are holding you back, holding you down, but you gotta work through those things, break through those things, and run towards the finish line. Because those things are there to hinder you, keep you down in that lack mindset, that left logic hemisphere of the brain. Chase your dreams, chase your goals. I don't know the situation any of you pioneers are in right now, but the situation is not better than you. It's not bigger than you. It is not your future. It is not who you really are. It is not your full potential. You see, the sky is the limit, pioneers, but it all starts from right here within your heart space, and it's all up to you. You should be a beast. You should be a pioneer. And you should be hungry for greatness to reach your outcome. You got to go through it to get through it, pioneers. You got to go through it to get to it. And lately I've been going through it. You got to understand that there are going to be things that get you down, get you lost, distracted, broken, and confused. There are going to be many circumstances that will require your full, undivided attention. See, you got to go through it to get through it. You got to go through it to get to it, pioneers. You have to understand that it has to be a undivided, unique mindset. Setting a goal, doing the work, and then going beyond that work to achieve that goal. Realizing that there's work to be done. Making sure that you are who you want to be. Making sure all the little strings are attached and you're pulling them in the right direction. And make no mistake, along the way, it's going to be hard and you're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And we all have so many setbacks. Trials and tribulations, hurts, habits, and hang-ups. But there's always room for a comeback. Can I get a hello? To understand this, you gotta realize you gotta humble yourself and yet still be hungry enough, confident and cocky enough to go after it with everything you got inside of you. Everything that is required depends on you. Having the mindset depends on you. Regardless of anything that is around you or surrounding you, anyone and anything trying to drag you down, you must have the mindset, your richest asset, and be strong enough and resilient enough and driven enough to get where you want to be. Taking whatever's coming at you and beating it. If you stumble, you get back up. If you fall, you get back up. You gotta have that ability to stand back up, not dependent on anybody else, not even your body, to do the work. You must understand it is a mental fortitude that will get you through anything in life. This battle, this war. So many people don't have this fortitude. They don't have this attitude when the time counts. They don't have faith in themselves. If you, as the individual, the pioneer, the beast, can take the first step, then perhaps just another will follow. Another opportunity. There's always going to be ups and downs, bumps in the road. We're on a roller coaster in life. Things are not going to go in as planned. But we got to fight. Because we're going to face some pain and some tough times. And we got to train our mind, not just our body. We got to train our mind, our soul, our spirit to be worthy, to be ready. Or otherwise we'll live our whole life seeing the world through someone else's life, being a creature of circumstance, a victim of our own life, and not the master of it. Can I get a hello? Start working on yourself and learning why you do the things you shouldn't do, and why you're not doing the things you should. Figure out why you're not in control of your environment, and figure out what it takes for you to take control back of your life right now, for the life you deserve, not the life that somebody else has painted out for you, your friends, family, indoctrination systems, etc. Because when dark times, etc. come around and you get broken, you'll be strong enough mentally to take on anything. And it will make you rather than break you. Because each and every one of you pioneers out there, you have greatness deep down inside of you. And with greatness comes great responsibility. You have unlimited potential, and you have to train your mind, body, and soul, your spirit, each and every day. Things are going to happen that you can't control. Weather, terrorism, C-19 and the bear flu, etc. If you can't control anything outside of you, then control the information that you're letting inside of you. Can I get a hello? You can have anything in this life if you're willing to go get it, but you got to have the belief in yourself. And that belief comes from working on your mindset every single day. So I'm sending you much love and high vibrations out to wherever you are in the matrix and galaxy today. And the message today is this: you can be a victim of your life or the master of it. Because what you believe in your hearts and speak in your minds will eventually become your words and your reality one day. And what you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mindset. And what gets ingrained in your subconscious mindset becomes an unconscious action and an unconscious activity. And I've always just wanted mine to be guideful, helpful, and nurturing to others. So again, sending you all much love and high vibrations out to wherever you are in this matrix and galaxy. I know I've been MIA, but I've been working on myself. I've been broken to the loss of a dear friend of mine of almost 30 years. So I took some time to, take care of the things that I need to do and spend some time with, myself, my family, etc. And just take a break. So I'm glad to be back out here doing the work that we do on the Daily Candle Close News for you all. And I know people lately have been in a lot of fear and anxiety of everything crashing in the markets and the economy all over the world, etc. The food shortages and the narratives that we've seen through the past few months. And it's hard for them to build a perception of what's to come moving forward. And a lot of people are hearing this R word, this recession word, this fear and panic is coming into their mindsets. And, they're worried about companies laying off employees and the economy crashing even further. And there are a few things that I want to mention regarding that. People are, of course, scared of crashing markets and slowdowns in the economy and getting laid off and unemployment, the inflation, etc. But for the majority of people, recessions and crashes, black swan events are opportunities to build wealth, kind of like Black Friday for investors. And the first thing that I want to note regarding that is, that's kind of what we've been in, right? Look at this bottoming we're witnessing on the weekly time frame. These are opportunities for us to accumulate and build immense amounts of wealth, not in the near distant future, but in the long term. 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road from now. And this is the thing, you want to find the opportunity. And the way you do that is first understanding how you're going to get there. Because history doesn't repeat itself, but it always rhymes. It's always similar and it's always familiar. And didn't this happen in 2001, the dot-com bubble? And in 2008, 2015? Yes, but that's not exactly how it works. You have to understand how this happens and why it happens. Because it's controlled demolition of the economy to keep you lost, distracted, broken, and confused by the market manipulators and the market makers, the composite man. The 1% that controls 99% of the masses around the world, 9+ billion people. Because why? They are extremely loyal. They're not like people snitching and killing each other like humanity. They set this up to take advantage of moving forward. And we can play the same game by viewing this through the eyes of the elite, by being prepared. When things go bad, we can come in and pounce on the opportunity to take advantage of it. And we've had the stock market, which is, it's setting record lows, just keeps going down, same as the crypto market. The NFT space, metaverse fell off. It's all in a hole. The housing market starting to take a turn, might pop in this bubble we're in. Where's the biggest opportunity is what people are asking. And the biggest opportunity is investing in yourself, a mindset, a craft, a skill, and an investment thesis. Gold, silver, cryptocurrencies that are green efficient and ISO 20022 compliant, that hold real use case utility, that solve real world problems that the people face today. Land, retail, and real estate for building passive income. Yeah, it all sound like opportunities for me. In the past, for the number of decades, anytime we saw an economic slowdown and downturn in the economy, the response was to create inflation, to stimulate. And isn't that what we just witnessed over the last 2+ years? When they printed 13 trillion plus dollars and threw it into the economy, causing the inflation we're witnessing today. And didn't we see this in 2001 when there was stimulus by the Federal Reserve Bank and during the dot-com bubble? So, we can look and see anytime we eject more money into the economy, it causes inflation and it hurts the people. It causes the economy over time to crumble. Not at first. Of course, at first it's great. We all get this free money, helicopter money, just printed out of nowhere to infinity and beyond. And we're going to blow it on Jordans and nonsense. Until we see a real estate bubble burst, quantitative easing, cutting of interest rates, more money injected into the economy. And here's 2008. The largest quantitative easing time we've ever witnessed in the world, and we blew past that 2 years ago. So what happens when you create more money? You create more problems. More money, more problems. We heard about this. We know that song. See, inflation comes from the word inflate, to make more. So when you print a lot of money and put it in the economy, causing inflation, causes the value of the dollar to go down, causing the prices of things to go up like gas, groceries, etc. So 2020, printing more money, injecting more money into the stock market, corporations, into people, in the forms of stimulus checks and unemployment. What did that do? The fastest, most severe stock market crash in history is what caused this. It's seeding the rate of the Great Depression, because we saw the C-19 narrative that shut the world down and sold the markets off in a frenzy. That 5,600 days later was bought right back up in a V-bottom recovery, set new all-time highs across the board. Why? Because it was a controlled demolition and euphoric rally of the markets. And you're asking, how is this possible? Well, we printed this insane amount of money, and when this happens, we create unlimited quantitative easing. So, we were able to do whatever it took to help recover markets. The feds were able to come save the day. So, while this happened, we had people who had money and people who didn't. Okay? But nothing was being produced. And then things got bought, and the economy opened back open. And people went back to work. And then we started seeing supply chain issues, etc. out of nowhere. Remember, controlled and created out of nowhere. I don't have baby formula to sell you. I don't have gas to give you. So now we entered this inflationary spiral where people need more money to buy things, but you just had people with money and people without. So you enlarge the gap between the wealthy and the poor. And companies are screaming, my cost has gone up, and people are screaming, my paycheck ain't keeping up with this. I need more money, and I'm in the spiral, and here we are today. August 2nd, 2022. And up until just a few months ago, inflation was just supposedly transitory. It was supposedly just this temporary thing that would just magically go away. But the interesting thing about this all is that was a lie, yet people believed it. Yet they're out here lying now, and people are still believing it. And there's no clear answer as to how much money was created, for real. We know what they tell us. But you can go to Google search Fed M1 and they got a chart of it, you guys. And I'll leave that up for you to do your own due diligence and research. And you can see in the beginning of 2020, there was just under $4 trillion of money out there in the world. And now today, do you know how much there is? Over 20 trillion. So, sound like the money printer been going brrr for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Because when the pandemic hit, they created this diversion. Look this way with C-19 while we changed the entire monetary system in the other direction while you're not paying attention. And this is 1971 all over again. And if people knew exactly how much money was printed by the feds, boy, I think their heads would turn. Because they've already put our great-great-grandkids in debt and they're not even born yet. People would see, holy cow, they're printing all this money, making all businesses rich, making the wealthy rich, making the poor poorer. Because inflation disproportionately hurts the financially poor more than it does the financially rich. Why? Because gas, groceries, rent, etc., electricity, everything is more expensive. And again, your jobs aren't coming to save you. They're not giving you no raises, no matter how hard you're working. So that's what's happening in terms of money right now for those that don't understand what money is. It's a scam. Fractional reserve banking, etc. We constantly print money into infinity beyond, and we don't have the money to pay for it. Money's fake. The Federal Reserve isn't a reserve. It's not a bank. They don't even keep cash reserves. It's all a scam. And yet they tell you what to do with your economy and your economics and your finances. And how do they do that? Through information and keeping you broke, lost, distracted, and confused by believing in the news. And the government, governares mentes, which means to govern the mind, when you break it down in its Latin terms. So, do you think that it's going to get better for you, the people, the average person that's out here working hard, 40, 50 plus hours a week, 2, 3 jobs, providing for your families? Nah, I think it's just going to continue to get worse unless you break away from this system and move away from the private Western central banking system and move into your own financial system where you control your own finances, a decentralized system like cryptocurrencies, by getting a ledger and keeping your funds offline and only sending them to a bank when you have to. That's up to you though, not financial advice. But we changed our life 2+ years ago when we moved away from the financial system that the elites wanted us using and said, I'm going to control my own finances. I'm not going to ask to withdraw money from my account by going to a bank teller. I'm going to do it by accessing my ledger, etc. And life ain't been the same since, you guys. So, when we take a look at things like the latest CPI rating, and we see that it's just bonkers. The latest was 9.1%, and we know it's just going to continue to keep climbing as this year progresses. Well, what are we going to do, people, when this affects our spending ability and purchasing power? Because slowly but surely, we're seeing death by 1,000 cuts with inflation and hyperinflation just steady over the corner and the horizon. If we were to continue CPI at 0% between now and the end of the year, we would still finish this year with 6.3% year-over-year inflation. And that's how bad things have gotten. We know that that's not going to happen for the rest of the year, that it's going to continue to grow and grow or stay as high as it has. So, this is killing the wealth of the average person. Me, you, your families, putting your grandkids in debts. And that's why we continue to buy assets and accumulate passive income cryptos, etc. Because we got to stay motivated and stay focused for the long term to become the new uncommon 1%. Because there is going to be a moment when the regulators see the retail average person getting too wealthy over cryptocurrencies, etc., and they put in regulations to cut us out. And we better be ahead of the curve and get grandfathered in before them regulations come, because you're not going to get a chance to get in after. So remember what we're saying here. And none of this is financial advice, but we know that when we go back to look at the Bitcoin weekly charts, we're coming out of obviously this downtrend that we've been in for 8+ months that we've talked about. And we're paying attention to this idea that since we've now had a weekly close reclaim the 200 simple moving average on the weekly time frame, and then this week start to come back and retest and hold in support for a possible continuation up to the 223 exponential moving average right there at around 25k in the near distant future, this is all looking bullish. What we don't want to see is failure to hold support, and this weekly close coming up on Sunday, a few days away from now, to close below this 200 simple moving average again. After multiple weeks for the first time in 13+ years for cryptocurrency, we don't want to see this level fall. We want to see us reclaim and continue momentum towards the top side of this trend line and the descending wedge that we have found ourselves in that has a 68% chance of breaking up towards the upside. So we'll see how that plays out. But we're getting sandwiched right now in between these two simple and exponential moving averages that we've been keeping up with on the weekly time frame. The bi-weekly, we've been able to see a euphoric bounce off the bottom side of this respected trend line going back in time, again showing more of a bottoming structure. Again, we never quite reached these exponential and simple moving averages of around 16,100, which is our golden ratio of phi. So that's something that if we were to see some downside implied price action in the near distant future, we would pay attention to the bottom side of this trend line and a potential bearish break of that, to short the market if that was to come into fruition. So something we talked about a month ago, but we've been in an uptrend, setting higher lows on smaller time frames, higher highs on smaller time frames since. So we knew that a respected bounce would oversold historic RSI levels on the weekly, etc. Was showing us that we could see this playing out in the cards. And since I took some time off, that's exactly what we've seen. So I'm glad that I had this, artwork prepared for y'all in advance so that you were able to watch it, view it, and see this play out into fruition into some areas of around 24,000 that we were talking about. I'm still bullish on seeing this potentially reach up to as high as around 28,000, and determining whether we're going to break that towards the upside of this fallen wedge in this bullish pattern that we found ourselves in, or if we get rejected from there for a potential opportunity to possibly short the market towards the back side of this bottom side. Who knows? We'll just have to continue to see how this plays out over the next several days, weeks, and August, September. But to see this automatic rally coming in the markets right here as we lead into August is not surprising, because we remember last year that, again, we know that this automatic rally typically comes in the month of August leading into September. So it's if you view the charts historically, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, Bitcoin, other charts over time, you can see how August is a potential rally in the markets, and that's something we want to pay attention to. So taking advantage of these June and July lows around the full moons of each month, when we looked at this on the lunar cycle and we paid attention to it, it has really shown to be quite opportunistic for the near distant future for us to have an opportunity to de-risk some great buying opportunities that we've just reached. Again, people at 69,000K Bitcoin thought that they'd never have a chance to see a 17K Bitcoin again. So not surprising that we fall down there and take advantage of this, and we're getting a bullish retest of these exponential moving averages for this potential chance to reach on up for a dead cat bounce scenario, etc., that we'll explain later in this video, or in our next if I forget. Sometimes I forget. But when we break this back down to Bitcoin on the 2-hour time frame, we know that we took advantage of buying this opportunity right here. We took advantage of, paying attention to this broadening wedge that broke out and was holding support, had a fake out, breakout, failed to hold support, and then we broke out again. And that's when we came back and retested as support. And that's where we wanted to take advantage of a long opportunity in the markets in our favorite altcoins. And then we were able to de-risk when we saw Bitcoin getting back above the top side of our previous high and a trend line that we had took advantage of at the time, which was showing us a bear pennant, etc. So this bear pennant that we had found ourselves in, we had a bullish breakout above that, but we still had fell into this bear flag, which we know is a bearish signal. So we're still playing in that today. So we know we took advantage of this buying opportunity in our favorite altcoins, and we were able to de-risk them along the way. Then we fell into a falling wedge that had a 68% chance of a breakout to the upside, into a rising wedge that broke down into a fake out around our 20,900 range that we saw balled up extremely euphoric, that broke past our 21,500 range that we knew was so important, came back to retest that and the heart line of this bear flag, this parallel channel that we're viewing here, before breaking out towards the upside and breaking out past our $22,700 range that we knew was the top side of our range on this chart, and another one that we were viewing in the Pioneer group chat as well. So to continue to see this after a euphoric movement have a correction phase, bringing us all the way back down towards the bottom side of this bear flag, past 21.5 in a very cup and handle type pattern before seeing a breakout back past 22.7 and the top side of this bear flag before seeing a bear trap where the bulls, or a bull trap where the bulls get punished to the downside. And we're ultimately right now just still holding support of around this $22,700 range. All very, very important. And there's some numerology and gematria that we'll share around this 227 tonight, if I remember, around some astrological events that we'll be talking about tonight as well, that we have coming up in the near distant future, like the Heliacal rising, the Lions Gate portal, as well as HAARP's birthday and the full moon of August. All very, very important. We know Jupiter just went in retrograde on July 28th, which was our last new moon. And we've recently seen Bitcoin having a breakout in this July 27th and 28th time frame. We know the new moons typically bring bullish energy to the markets, and that's not surprising that we see this bullish energy come in all the way up to 3 to 5 days after our new moon, and we got a spike up today and we've sold off ever since. So that could be all the bullish energy we get 5 days past this new moon. We'll just have to continue to see how this plays out. But the 28th, not surprising again, was July's new moon, which we know is typically bullish. That's leading into August is next full moon, which comes on the 11th, HAARP's birthday, and we know that is the Heliacal rising of this year, which is also known as the morning star, the Sirius star. So all something very important that we'll be talking about and making connections to tonight. The Heliacal rising, and Jupiter just went into retrograde until the 23rd of November, and that started on the new moon. So could we see, if we were to zoom out on a weekly time frame, we know a monthly time frame, etc., we've been in a multi-month downtrend until recently when we saw Jupiter go into retrograde until November. Could this be signaling the end of a bearish time period leading into the end of the year, right past Rosh Hashanah and the end of the Shemitah that we've been talking about for quite some time? Could this be another astrological possibility showing us where this bearish energy is releasing? Because this is a time period known as spiritual release and renewal. So that's very important. something I wanted to bring up as well. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. Later we'll be talking about HAARP and the High Frequency Active Aurora Research Program. Again, that's funny, when we type that out, it's giving us the 223. In numerology, the 227. Bitcoin sitting at 22,700 roughly, holding that support, that very important support we've talked about. And we know HAARP's birthday is 8/11, a date coming up in the near distant future. So, not surprising. This is the 223rd day of the year, and when you type out High Frequency Active Aurora Research Program, you get the 223. Wow. Mind blown, you guys. So we'll be talking about all this tonight, and these astrological events like the Lion's Gate portal or the Lion's Gateway. So very important things. That is on the important date of 8/8, August 8th, that very symbolic 88. We know how important these teacher and these master and these, 88's not a master number, but it's a teacher number to me, and it's a 11, 22, 33 are master numbers, and 50, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88, 99, they're teacher builder numbers, etc. But there's another term that I like to use for them other than master numbers. You only have 3 sets of master numbers, and that's 11, 22, and 33. The first 3 sets for the first blue degrees of Freemasonry, etc. It all correlates in there. So very important. This Lion's Gate portal is an important date that we'll be paying attention to today as well when we get down to that time period, being the 220th day of the year. So very important. That day adds up to 22 in 2 different ways, and when the Gregorian year of 2022. So I see this 8/8 date, August 8th, the Lion's Gate portal, being a very energetic day, being 7 weeks since till the end of the Shemitah, which is 49 days, which is the square root of 7. It's all very symbolic as we're in the 7-year sabbatical cycle when we connect this date to the end of the year and the Shemitah in Jewish Hebrew. So again, the Shemitah is the 7-year sabbatical cycle, also known as the release year, the harvest year, the Saturn year. So all very important, and we're seeing food shortages on the world stage, etc., because this all has to deal with Saturn and harvest, Father Time, Chronos, death, the Grim Reaper. All this has got to do with the harvest. So very important that we're seeing this play out this year during the Shemitah year and getting these very important connections to this date during the 7-year sabbatical cycle. So August 8th, another day that we're paying attention to. So today is August 2nd, a day leaving 151 days left in the year, and we know how important this 151 is. It is the 36 prime number. So we just came out of recently a new moon, and we know new moon is giving us that 36, bringing us this bullish energy, connecting us to the same 36 we get in Bitcoin, where we're seeing this bullish energy play out, leading us into this very spiritual and ritualistic time period of August. So the next week and the beginning of August, it's all astrologically and occultically important that we pay attention to. So the same 36 that we're seeing here, we know that ties us into, the 36 we get in Jesus Christ. When we type out Jesus Christ, we get the 36 as well as the 151. So again, we're talking about today, August 2nd, 151, the 36 prime number, a day leaving 151 days left in the year. This is a very important day. Okay, it is 55 days left until the end of the Shemitah, and this is all very important because we're talking about Jesus Christ and, God giving us that same 55 for the 55 days left until the end of the Shemitah. But Jesus Christ giving us that 151 and God giving us that 55. It's all tying us into the day. I want to get this down there so we can view it. Boom. But that 151, the 36 prime number, it's tying us into carbon man, which is who we are. Each one of us have 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons in the human body, in every cell, in every atom that make up every cell of the human body. So we get this 36, the 3 6s, 666, okay? So very important, each and every one of us. Ties us in here to this Jesus Christ character, the God character. Today is 55 days to the end of the Shemitah. And we know we get this 55 in God, not only God, but Satan. And we know we can be either God or Satan. Well, we can be Jesus or Satan down here, whichever one you choose to be, okay? You're made in the image of the Elohim. Genesis 1:26 tells us this. So it's all very eso and exoteric today. This very important date, numerology that we're seeing. 55 days left until the end of the Shemitah. Why this is so important, it's one of the numbers that I've paid close attention to all year. A truly important number that I probably went over almost the most all year long. We know that we've seen this 55 come up in not only God and Satan, but it's tying us back into the timekeeper, which is Saturn, okay? Chronos, Father Time, giving us that same 55. All right, tying us back into the predestination that they tell us we live out. Everything is predetermined, giving us that same 55. But recently, we've seen some more astrological events play out this year, like Pluto's return that happened on 2/22, which symbolized the destruction and rebirth of America. Pluto's return happened astrologically over America. The last time we saw this was in 1776, July 4th, the Independence Day and foundation of the independence of America. So not surprising that we see Pluto return this year, 2022, on February 22nd, the 222 date, and it symbolized rebirth and destruction, correct? And then the next day on 223, that number of skull and bones, we see the Russia-Ukraine narrative. So not surprising, this character of Pluto is simply Hades, okay? Remember that. But Pluto's return, we astrologically saw that, and it gave us the 55 this year. And that was shortly after the Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth, but it was her platinum Jubilee that gave us that same 55 we saw this year, right? And of course, speaking of that, when we type out Queen Elizabeth, we got that same 55. So it was awesome to watch this play out. Bitcoin right now is sitting at 22,800. That's symbolic. We saw that earlier. But we saw this all during the 7-year sabbatical cycle. Bitcoin hit 69K. That was its high. So not surprising. We saw how this just eso and exoterically adds up. And the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, not surprising, gave us that same 55, you guys. So very, very important that we pay attention to how this plays out. He's the timekeeper 55 of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. So we're talking about some astrological time periods that are coming up, like HAARP's birthday on 8/11, which is also known as the Heliacal rising. And it's 2022, and it's given us that 55. And you don't believe me, but 257 is the 55th prime number. So it's amazing, this time period that we're reaching for cryptocurrency in the near distant week or so. 8/11 is a very important time period, leaving 1 month, 15 days to the end of the Shemitah, the 223rd day of the year. This is important. That 115 on this day ties us back into Lucifer. And Heliacal rising is also known as the Sirius star, you guys, or also known as the morning star. And Lucifer and Jesus are both called the morning star. So pay attention to that right there. The Heliacal rising and Satoshi Nakamoto, the morning star, all tying us in right here. This 181 tying us back into Satoshi Nakamoto. So very important. but this is tying us into Bitcoin because it's also symbolic to the Sirius star, and that's giving us the 117, the 45. Bitcoin gives us the 117, the 45. So very important that we pay attention to the next week or so in cryptocurrency to see what could play out moving forward, because it's all right here in the code and by the numbers showing us a very important time period. So one thing I want to note while we're right here seeing the morning star and the 73 connection, which is the 21st prime number, that 21 ties us into the 21 million coin supply that Bitcoin has. That 21 ties us into Father Time and Saturn. Bitcoin hit a 69k top. That 21 we're talking about. 73 tying us into the morning star. This is on 811, and right before 811 is the Lion's Gate portal, giving us that. Sorry, spelled that wrong. Lion's Gate portal giving us 2022, giving us that same 73, the 21st prime number. Bitcoin's holding support right now of 22,700. Not surprising. This is also known as the Lion's Gateway. Giving us that same 73 and 22,700, 227. So very important, just making connections here with these astrological time periods that we have coming up. So we'll have to continue to see how this plays out. Another date that I am paying attention to is a few days from now, August 5th and 6th. This August 5th, obviously, it adds up to 55 in numerology. So a number we talked about and spoken about tonight. A little bit more on that number is, if we all remember the Omicron, variant that was, so popular on the world stage, but it was symbolic and used because it was the 15th letter in the Greek alphabet, as well as Omicron Piscium is the 15th star. How do I want to say this? Omicron Piscium. I want to say it's the 15th star in a constellation of stars. If I remember correctly. Here we go. I know it has to do with a constellation of stars, but it's very symbolic to why we saw this Omicron variant used on the world stage. But it's giving us that 55 as well when we type this out, Omicron Piscium. So not surprising that we see this. All right. August 5th, we talked about that, adding up to 55 in numerology. 8 plus 5 plus 20 plus 22 gives us that 55. So that's another date I said we were looking out for, and leading us into this Saturday, Saturn Day, 8/6. It's going to be a very important time period, leaving 51 days to the end of the Shemitah and Rosh Hashanah, which is 7 weeks and 2 days. So I'm expecting some potential volatility on this day, because we know that Bitcoin gives us that same 72 in numerology when we type this out. So all very eso and exoteric as to why the first beginning week or so of August could really signify a bottom in structure short term. Whether that's going to be the true overall bottom over the next year, we're just going to have to continue to let this play out. We won't know if it's going to be the absolute bottom until we see a new all-time high set in cryptocurrencies and stocks around the board, which I'm not going to say isn't possible, but it's, something that would take a lot of news and a lot of liquidity and a lot of FOMO to see take place by the market manipulators and the institutional investors, etc. I really think we are just in this let's be honest, I really think we're in the first sell-off of the awareness phase. For the first 13 roughly years, 10, 13 years of cryptocurrency, I believe we've been in this stealth phase of what is considered a hyperwave theory. And that's very important to pay attention to. I believe this could be a possible bear trap that we see now or played out throughout the end of the year, first quarter next year. But I believe this is ultimately the first sell-off before we enter the mania phase and we really get the main media attention into enthusiasm and greed and delusion before we ultimately fall off the end of this cycle into a new bear market. But again, this could be a multi-year event taking place too, so let's not get caught up in the short term over what I'm sharing with you here. But I do ultimately believe throughout the long term that we're just right here in the middle of this first sell-off and bear trap phase overall throughout the long term of cryptocurrency and the new financial system that we'll see implemented on the world stage. So, that's something I want to remind you all, that we're still so early and there's still a lot of money that can be made in these markets long term. When you develop a real mindset and craft and skill and thesis around important cryptocurrencies that we're going to see make it past regulatory clarity. So undeniable, you guys. But what we'll do is go ahead and get back into a little bit more of some cryptocurrency technical analysis before I go ahead and sign off of here. But we know this market is a stage and controlled by the composite man, and we can't let it control our emotions. We should keep our emotions on the sideline and not get caught up in the nonsense, minutia, and monotony that we see taking place. But gonna be a lot to go over in this video. We've already talked about a lot of dates and just some important market psychology and sentiment. But something I want to talk about is what's possible for a dead cat bounce on some larger time frames. I want to zoom out a little bit. We know we've obviously broken past all the ranges we've talking about on our parallel channel bear flag, bear pennant chart that we've been following. So let's go back and look at a few other charts that we haven't viewed in a while. Our Mercury stationed in retrograde, that time period is coming up right here around September. I'll have to continue to look at the dates. I might have those mistakenly wrong right here, but we know it's coming up. Those tend to be typically a bullish time period or sideways and boring, leading to a pump. Same as this one, but we were very manipulated right here around this 32,200, that skull and bones number. Not surprising, into this downtrend. So we were able to reclaim our previous level of liquidity all the way dating back to December of 2020. This is bullish right now. To see a bearish or a bullish back test to this level right now, hopefully we can retest this support line of about 22,700 and then hopefully reclaim this 28,000 level, which is probably where we'll see rejection in the near distant future moving forward. If we were to continue to see this rally over the daily time frame, weekly time frame, continue throughout August and September, which is typically, again, like last year, what we saw take place. So very important. Another chart, we obviously were talking about these liquidity zones. We had a hard time getting back into this liquidity zone until here recently around the 19th and 20th, 2 dates that we were able to prepare you for. We saw this pre-baked in sell-off leading into the Fed's FOMC meeting right here on the 27th, where they came to save the day, you guys. We talk about this. It's not surprising. It's right here on the new moon. Don't short the market around here. Why? Because it's typically bullish, not financial advice. But we fell into our previous liquidity range and zone, and we were, waiting to get bought up out of it and enter in our previous liquidity zone that we fell off into. We were wanting to reclaim this back in time, but that's going to be our next liquidity zone up, is to right there around that, I'm going to say $32,200, you guys. Not surprising. That's where that would come in, right there where we previously got bull trapped and lost support, 32,200. that 321 go area. So I'd say our liquidity range starts there if we were to see that, and it would take us as high as around 37k, 38k. But we'll have to look at a few other charts, because I don't think we'll quite get as high as 37, 38k. And if we did, you definitely want to be de-risking your favorite altcoins, or possibly Bitcoin if you held it at that area. It would probably be very overheated on some major indicators and oscillators. So we'll pay attention to that. But here we go. This is one range that we were talking about, and one level that we were talking about. Obviously, it's the 22,700 range that we know is important. 22,300 is where we might come back and retest before seeing this bought back up, if we were to fall and break support of this 22,700. So not surprising if we were to see that again, tying us back into skull and bones, our favorite lizard pals. So that's showing us our 30k roughly of a upside target. You know, I'm more predicting around this 33k if we were to see it, this 33, 34k area. But we got to break this 32,200, which is a major level and possibly a sell wall. We'll just have to see how that plays out. All right, so that's just looking at a few time frames. One thing I do want to look at is the daily on another chart. My fibs pulled up. Oh, I know where it's at. All right, this is the chart I want to talk about. You know, this market, it really doesn't have a lot of volume right now, but we could be seeing a dead cat bounce where we could be moving into the 5 fib extension as high as, you know, the 888. And how we're going to determine that is by pulling a fib from our recent all-time high of 69k and bringing that down to our lows. Sorry, I had to read that text. So what we could possibly be seeing is a push up as high as the 0.5 fib, you know. And what I'll do is actually pull this back down where we saw rejection off the golden pocket, and that will make a lot more sense, because that's gonna basically take us back to the mania and Elon Musk mania around cryptocurrencies, etc. That's basically where I need to pull this, not the 69k top. But if we could possibly see this go as high as this 0.5 fib for a dead cat bounce, that's a little, you know, overheated for me right now. But it's pretty much over, you know, always the 5. It's possible we don't even make it here, but I want to teach you about the dead cat bounce. So we want to possibly see this continue up to around this 382. That's going to be a great level to de-risk when we're pulling our fib from last year, 2021, March, April area, down to our recent lows. You know, that's going to probably follow with a rejection and a break, you know, a resistance getting rejected and coming back to see if we hold support at around 28k, if we were to see 28k and get past it. So all this is leading into possibly September, mid-September, late August, who knows. And I got a feeling if we were to see this and then see a sell-off and break down even lower, we would see it into the end of the year, because we've seen that over 100 years in data, whether it's the S&P 500 or Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or the Dow Jones, etc. You know, it would be very symbolic to the release and the Shemitah, the 7-year sabbatical cycle, playing out time and time again, just like 2001, etc., where we see some kind of other event, quarter 4, quarter 1, this year, next year, that has the whole world in awe and shock. But this is one chart, very simple, that can show us not to overthink things too much. The current rejection levels of that 32,200, this 37k range is pretty textbook when viewing this. So this 33,300, 333, is very symbolic to some important areas and some time frames, because when we look at August 5th and we date it back to the start of the Shemitah last year, we'll look at the time period. It's obviously important because it's 300 and what? Okay, I did this wrong. Boom. It's 332 days, 333 days roughly. So this August 5th, August 6th time period, dating back to the start of the Shemitah, if we time things, it can be very important if we were to see a quick rally throughout August and the Lionsgate portal and the Heliacal rising, all this astrological, science we got going on in the charts right now. It's just playing out by the numbers if we were to see this continue up to 33k, leading into a de-risk, a bull trap area. That'd be very important. I don't think we get as high as the 0.5 fib or the 702. I mean, that's really a lot to ask for right now. And if we were to see these areas, then it would be pretty much going on to set a new all-time high. I would like to say that. But who knows? But all that being said, I'm probably going to leave this video here, you guys. I think that's enough for us to get started back on the right foot with the daily candle close news and the Pioneer Academy and University. I try to look at and view these markets through the eyes of the elite, and I wanted to bring that to you all and just get back into things, because I've just been in a rut, you guys, like we spoke about earlier in the video. So take care and God bless. Pioneers rise, build your fortress, and build your legacy.